review and wear test for the new NARS Natural Radiant Longwear Cushion Foundation. Now, like the original liquid formula, this promises 16 hours wear, promises a very natural, luminous skin-like look and high coverage. So we are going to be testing out those claims. I am probably not going to be wearing it for a full 16 hours because that's just not my style, but I will definitely be checking in throughout the day to let you guys know if it is breaking down, if it is looking, a little bit raggedy, because one of the issues that I had with the original liquid formula was that it looks really good when you just apply it, and then a few hours in it just starts to break down. It is not able to handle either my skin chemistry or the humidity and heat in Singapore. I did see a few reviews online claiming this was exactly the same thing as this and it was just pouring this into the cushion. It is not. This is made in the USA, this is made in Korea. The formulations are slightly different. The coverage level, pigmentation level is also slightly different. They sit slightly differently on the skin. Having said all that, let's take a look at some of the claims for this new product. This comes in 6 shades in Singapore, not a whole lot. The original liquid foundation comes in 24 shades. The cushion itself comes at 56 Sing dollars, including the single refill. So this does not come in a twin pack. You're not going to get 2 cushions with this. It does offer powerful sun protection. It's SPF50 PA 4+, so full spectrum. And it's meant to give you perfected full coverage for up to 16 hours with a fresh and radiant look. Now, the extra claim that NARS makes with the cushion foundation is that this is supposed to look even better after you reapply throughout the day. I'm not sure at this point if I'm going to test that out because I do apply a little bit of setting powder over most of my oily zones. So applying liquid on top of powdered foundation just feels a little bit counterintuitive, but we will see how it goes. Before this drags on too long, I'm just going to cut straight to the application video. I do want to mention that both foundation formulas went on a little bit lighter and they set to a maybe half a tone deeper, which is pretty standard for a lot of liquid foundation formulas. I have a slight bit of tan, so both sides did go on just slightly pale, but they've settled a little bit and it's not too bad right now. I can get by with a tiny bit of bronzer around my cheeks. Up close, I do find that the foundation side is blurring my pores a little bit more just because it is more satiny. It's not quite as dewy as the cushion side, so it will make your pores a little bit less visible. But if you were to look really up close, I personally prefer how the cushion is sitting around some of my larger pores. It's like the pigments are lighter weight, so sitting on top of the skin, this side doesn't actually look very much like makeup at all. Whereas if you were to look up close on the liquid foundation side, despite the beautiful satin finish and the slight glow, you can see that it is makeup on the skin. The coverage is very full. The pigments seem to be just slightly heavier looking than the cushion side. So, of course, all that's left is for me to do the full day's wear test and report back to you guys. Traditionally, the Radiant Longwear Foundation formula has never set very well on my skin for a full day. After a certain amount of hours, it will just start to look, a little bit broken up, a little bit patchy. It will start to shift a bit. So I don't know if it's my skincare, I don't know if it's the humidity in Singapore, I don't know if it just doesn't like my skin chemistry, but we are going to find out if the cushion sits a little bit better, because if it does, I love this finish. I really love this finish. Despite the fact that it's not as full coverage as the foundation side, this looks very natural. It looks like great skin. That's it. If you have blemishes, if you have a lot of texture on your skin that you need to conceal, neither of these foundations is probably going to be a great option for you because of the slight glow that they have. It is going to emphasize bumps, lines, texture, pores, etc., everything on your skin. Alright babes, I am back. It is now almost 8 p.m. in the evening. I have been wearing this foundation for about 9 hours and it is holding up okay, although I haven't looked really close. I did not blot today. I didn't really touch up. The only place where I dabbed on a teeny tiny bit more of the cushion foundation was actually on this side of my face where I'm wearing the liquid foundation because it sort of wore off a little bit on the inner corners of my eyes from a little bit of touching or rubbing. So not technically the fault of the foundation, so that's not going to be one of the points that I'm going to factor in when reviewing both sides of my face. I'm going to zoom you in a second. It is now starting to break down a little bit on both sides of my face, especially around my more sweaty zones. So around the sides of my inner cheeks near the nose area, these are the places where it's starting to look a little bit patchy, and if I were to touch my face right now on both sides, I'm pretty sure it's gonna come off. And under the eyes, both sides of my face, it's looking kind of dry, a little bit creasy, a little bit cracked. So very standard, what I expected from my previous wearings of the original Radiant Longwear foundation. It just does not hold up for 16 hours. No way it's gonna hold up in this kind of humidity with light sweating. I did not even do too much physical activity or walking around today. You can see a little bit of patchiness, some streaking from where I touched my skin a little bit near my nose. So if I were to rub, would just come right off. Under my eyes, it is extremely creasy. It's looking quite dry despite this being a luminous formula, and this is the liquid foundation side. On the cushion side, it's also starting to look just a little bit patchy, although it's held up just a tiny bit better than the liquid foundation side, surprisingly. Under my eyes, I'm getting those dry creases as well, you know, from smiling, etc. through the day. I did set the under eye area with some powder and it was not creasy earlier in the day. So these definitely developed after a few hours. But I do have to say the cushion side, creasing in the dry areas on cushion side are not as noticeable, not as bad as the liquid foundation side. So this is just a quick look. Again, I'm pretty sure, yeah, there's a little bit of transferring off if I touch it as well. Now I'm gonna do my usual and just blot my face so you can have a look and see if the foundation transfers off my skin. To be fair, my skin has not produced a ton of oil wearing this foundation. Most of it seems to be sweat. Now, blotting has removed some of the foundation around my nostril area. This is my oily zone. On the rest of my face, where I lifted off sweat, it seems to be pretty intact still. But around the oily areas, blotting the oil and sweat away has also lifted off the foundation. Now, same thing with the foundation side. It's sort of lifted off my skin around the oilier zones. It's looking a little bit patchy and they're kind of gathered around my nostrils. So if you look really close, you see little beige spots around my pores, which is a look I hate. So that is the 9+ hour wear test, first full day wear test of the new Natural Radiant Longwear cushion. I do really like it for the first 6 or 7 hours. It really managed to stay pretty intact. And I have to say it was quite dry touch for most of the day. Even now that I've lifted off some of the sweat, which is predominantly water, it is not feeling sticky, it's not feeling tacky, it's not feeling greasy at all. If you have oily skin, like I do around my nostrils, this is going to break down at the 6 or 7 hour mark, definitely. If you have dry skin, you may want to skip powdering around the dry zones, because it does seem like this is a formula that goes a little bit less flexible once powder goes on. So it will crease and it will look kind of wrinkly in your problematic areas if you were to set it. As for the foundation side, this is consistent with all my prior experiences. It's kind of wearing away, and I do personally feel it's slightly more cakey, more noticeable that it's kind of congealing and clumping around my pores. Whereas on the cushion side, it's wearing away a little bit more gracefully just because of how much finer the pigments are. Conclusion for day one, 1 point goes to the cushion, 0 for the liquid foundation. Hey, day two. I know I look a little crazy. I'm just testing out these new eye patches. They are kind of like new generation cellulose, a little bit like those anti-inflammation salon pass patches that you stick on a sore back or sore leg, etc. Anyway, on to the cushion foundation. I'm not going to do a split face today. I am just going to go straight in full face of this formula using the puff that comes in compact, and we'll see how it goes. You do want to be careful with new cushion compacts always, because you can pick up too much product and overload your skin, and then you wonder why it doesn't set properly, or it doesn't last, it creases easily. It's because you've applied way too much product on your face. So I'm gonna just be careful this time. Does dry down after a while, and it stops having that sort of slightly moist, slightly tacky feel. So I wouldn't worry about that too much if you have combination skin. I think this would actually sit quite nicely on combination skins as well, as long as you have a little bit of powder around the oiliest zones. Now, I did wear my NARS Radiant Creamy Concealer yesterday and powdered it, and the eye areas where it creased the most, so I'm not entirely sure if it was the concealer that was creasing more, but I'm just going to go straight in with this again today. And what I'm going to try and do today is not set it with powder under the eyes. So I will bring the compact out for touch-ups in the middle of the day, and we will see how it looks, because one of the promises or the claims for this product is that it actually looks good when you layer and build it up through the day. So you will see. Hi guys, it is now 2:15 p.m. in the afternoon, about 5 hours since I've put on the foundation. It is still looking okay, not too much shine, maybe teeny tiny bit just kind of peeking through around my nostril area. This is the oiliest part of my face. Rest of my face seems to be okay. It's not feeling greasy, it's not feeling tacky. I did set the inner portions of my face with a little bit of loose translucent powder. So far it's still looking very, very perfect. I'm about to head out the door for some meetings, and I will check in again at the end of the day. Okay guys, it is now 7:30 p.m. I have been wearing this foundation for over 10 hours. I did blot in the middle of the day, and I will say that I wasn't doing too much physical activity today. I was sitting at the desk working for most of the day, so not too much sweat, not too much oil. It is shining quite a bit right now, but not too bad. It's not like it's all broken down, but I'm gonna take a look. Yeah, maybe around the nose, the sides of my nose again, like yesterday. This is starting to look a little cakier. Like if you look really close, you can tell there's makeup texture on the skin, but it's not breaking down in the sense that, it's gone patchy or it's shifted or anything yet. And the amazing thing is, around the areas where I was creasing a lot yesterday, I did not powder these areas. I did not powder the outsides of my face, aside from a little bit of bronzer and blush. It's not dried out, obviously, so it's not tacky either. It's not transferring off on my fingers. That is the amazing thing for a cushion. It's not transferring off, even though I didn't set this whole area with too much powder earlier. So it's looking like one of those formulas where you actually do not want to over dry it by applying too much powder on. Don't cake it up. leave it flexible because it does set on the skin. Alright, zoomed in for a much closer look. Shine, but it's mostly intact, like you can see. So unless you're extremely up close and personal with someone, they are unlikely to see anything other than, perfect makeup, basically. So right now, I am going to do my usual blot, lift off some of the excess sweat and oil, and then we see if it's intact looking. And then my final test is going back in to touch up with more of the product to see if it starts to look a little bit cakey. Because one of the major claims and key reason to own a cushion foundation is because you want to touch up throughout the day. So we will see how it performs. I am not too oily when I wear this, which is telling me that my skin actually likes the formula. I have noticed that on days when I wear foundation that makes my skin a little bit uncomfortable, I start to produce a lot more oil. So if your skin seems to be a little bit unpredictable like that, it could very well be the formulation of specific skincare or makeup that you're putting on that day. Well, the blot has made the makeup a little bit patchier. Some of it's transferred off onto the blotting sheet, but generally speaking, it's still looking okay. Now, onto the part that I'm afraid of the most, reapplying more foundation on top of old foundation. Generally speaking, I try to avoid this because, traditionally the results have never been great when you do that. So we are going to see. They don't actually say that you should avoid powdering your skin if you want to touch up through the day. So I'm gonna assume they factored that in. The idea of applying fresh foundation onto old foundation and then dipping back in with the sponge. Okay, I will get over the OCD. But I am just touching up on this side of my face, on the areas where the foundation has worn off the most, and then we can compare. Dang. It's actually looking pretty good. Turning down the lights again. You see, so I have touched up all the way from the outer corners of my eyes, underneath here, inner corners, down the sides of my nose where it's worn off and gone patchy, around the nostrils as well, and along my jaw, and it's looking pretty perfect. Okay, this is the old side without touching up. And this is the touched up side. Dang! Tell me you're seeing what I'm seeing. This looks so flawless. This side still looks okay. It's just slightly worn away, or there's just basically less coverage. And this side is beautiful. So if I was out for a whole day and I had to go for dinner and drinks after work, I could technically touch this up, forget about powdering on top of it, and just go out, and it looks so perfect. It looks like really nice skin. It has that glow, but it still doesn't feel tacky on my skin. The important thing always is to lift off excess sweat and sebum before going in with more makeup. Whether you're using powder or liquid, you do not want to sandwich all that dirt and sweat and oil and bacteria in between layers of makeup. It's just not good for anyone. So remember to lift it off. At least use a clean sheet of tissue, to blot a little bit before you add on more makeup on top of the old makeup, and it will sit, and it will last a lot better that way. I can tell you right now, this is going straight in my purse as a midday touch-up product because I usually don't like the look of powder compacts middle of the day because I have dry skin, and I typically also don't really touch up with a lot of liquid cushion compacts when I'm out because it starts to look cakey when you put more liquid on top of old foundation. But this is sitting really nice. Alright guys, final conclusion, I really like this, especially in comparison to the original formula. This looks good from a distance for a few hours, and then after a while it starts to look a bit heavy on me at least. This just looks so good for so many hours. Even as it wears down, it does it very, very gracefully. It did that yesterday, it did that today as well. Yesterday I was sweating quite a bit more, but even then, when I lifted off the oil and stuff started getting a little bit patchier, or makeup sort of lifted off around my oilier zones, it wasn't hard to just sort of pat and smooth things out. And today I've tried touching up on top of itself. It layers wonderfully even though I have some setting powder on. So I don't know what they put in this or what magic is in this, because I don't usually dare to do that with any liquid product at all, and this has managed to just look really, really good. Now the obvious con to this product is the price, because this is $56 Sing for just one cushion. It does not come with an extra refill in the box, so you are paying $56 for 0.42 ounce of product versus 1 whole ounce of this for $76. So for $20 more, you are getting more than double the amount of product you get in this. However, I would pay for this over this any day, so that's just my take on it. I did get quite a few questions from some of you guys on Instagram asking about this in comparison with Hera's black cushion, because that is another cult classic which is very, very long wearing and high coverage. Now besides the long wear and the high coverage, I would say the texture and the finish is completely different. This is very satiny, almost dewy, glowy in effect, unless you powder it, of course. The Hera one is just matte. So if you powder that, that's matte. And you can possibly, if you have normal to dry skin, get away with not powdering that Hera at all. If you have very oily skin, of course, I would probably still say check out the Hera first, because that is just a lot more matte. It will absorb a little bit more shine for a slightly longer period of time than this one can. This is meant to look radiant, it's meant to look slightly glowy, so naturally it's not going to be able to control shine as much as the Hera will. Before I forget, one last thing. This does have a little bit of flashback. If you were taking flash photography, if you have very bright light pointed directly at your face can come off looking just slightly ashier or lighter than the rest of your body. So that's something you want to take note of. If you want to wear this in photos, make sure there's no flash, or just avoid using this product on those days. Otherwise, this gets a thumbs up from me. I'm not going to say too much more at this point. I think we can all see the results. I've not met many cushions that can stay this nice looking for this long and then layer on top of itself. So, good job, NARS. As always, this brings me to the end of the video. If you enjoyed it or found it helpful, please give me a thumbs up. If you are new here, please subscribe, and I will see you again in the next video.